Alright guys, we are back for another vlog, and this time it's a Halloween themed vlog. And I've even dressed the part, sort of, because I just got back from the gym and I wore Halloween clothes to the gym. So I've got a Beetlejuice shirt on, and I've got shorts on that have spider webs and spiders. So we are back for another reading vlog, another themed reading vlog, and I'm super excited about the books that I'm going to be reading for this vlog. So we've got a couple. First, I've got Dracula, and I've also downloaded the audiobook so that I can listen and read at the same time. And the reason I've done that is because I have tried to read Dracula before. This was probably 10-ish years ago, something like that. And I got like 120, 130 pages in and didn't want to read it anymore. I was kind of bored. So I'm hoping by reading it and also listening to it at the same time that I will be able to get through it this time, because I'm really looking forward to knowing what this whole story is about, because I love Dracula. I love Dracula movies. I find them really interesting, so I'm excited to see where it started. Now, I've also got Dreadful by Caitlin Rosakis, and I have also been looking forward to reading this one. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. It's got some sprayed edges that are super cute, and so really excited to get into this. It seems pretty funny, and I got this when it came out. So that was last year. So I've had this book for a year and haven't read it yet. So excited to dive into this one. Then the book that I'm going to start this vlog with is Accomplice to the Villain. And I have been impatiently waiting to read this for this specific reading vlog. And this is also the Barnes & Noble edition. It's got green sprayed edges. But this is the third book in the Assistant to the Villain series. And a lot has happened in the first two books, and we get to hear more about Tristan and Evie, and also Kingsley, who's the frog. And I love Kingsley. He's one of my favorite characters in the whole book, the whole series. So super excited to start with this one. And since it's the third book in the series, I don't want to read the synopsis and give too much away. But basically, Evie was going through some personal stuff, and she got fired from her job, or she quit her job, and so she needed a job, and so she became the assistant to the villain through some pretty funny circumstances. Now she works at the villain's manor and is his assistant and helps him with the day-to-day running of the office and stuff while he's off doing his villainous things. But there's also a bigger story on why Kingsley's a frog, why the villain and his magic and some stuff that's going on with that, and just trying to save the world in general. So it's a really good series and I really love it, and it's funny. I literally laugh out loud, and cat hair on me, and I really am enjoying this. So I'm excited to get into the third book in the series. So then I'm also going to, so these are the hopefuls. We hope to get through all of these books in the reading vlog. We'll see. But I also have some hopeful audiobooks. So one of them is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, and that is the first one in this series. It's a warm and cozy debut novel. A burned out witch will need to turn to her friends and trust in herself to find the magic in her own life again. Belladonna Blackthorn hasn't lost her magical spark precisely, but she hasn't seen it in a while either. With her witchcraft under wraps and a toxic boss making her days miserable, Belle is struggling to keep her beloved lunar books afloat and just make it through the day. The last thing she has time for is perfecting her magic. My hold already came in at the library, so I've already got it downloaded, ready to go. Then I also would like to listen to Road Trip with a Vampire by Jenna Levine. So I put a hold in at the library as soon as that book came out, and the hold is several months long. So I don't have high hopes that I will be getting that hold in the month of October. So we'll see what happens with that. I would also like to read Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which is the second book in the Bride series. It comes out on October 7th, so we'll see where I am in the line with that one as well. Those are the hopefuls of the physical books that I want to read and also the audiobooks. So 3 and 3, we'll see what happens. But I am going to start with Accomplice to the Villain. And I do still have to decorate for Halloween, so I might be showing some clips of that in this vlog as well, while I listen to an audiobook. Decorating. So here is this piece. I got a pumpkin on the front door, and I've decorated outside too. I've got the coffee table, got the fireplace, the mantle, and then my little coffee bar. And on the porch I have my unwelcome mat. Over here I've got a spider web and lights, light in the window. Here I've got more spider web and more lights, pumpkin in the window. I need to do an update on the books I've been reading. So it's been like a week since I started the vlog. This week was crazy. Anyway, I am almost 50% of the way through Apprentice to the Villain. And I'm really liking the story. Once I started to remember exactly what had happened in the previous book, I started to like read a little bit faster because I wasn't sitting there thinking like, what the heck's going on? I'm about halfway through that and I'm really liking it. It is a little bit slow, but they are progressing through the story and basically like gathering all of these artifacts and all of these things that they need in order to like fulfill a prophecy, fulfill the story, so that they can save magic. So that's kind of the overarching theme in the book, in the series so far, is they're trying to, the villain and Evie and everybody who lives at the manor, they're trying to save Renadon and save magic. So still liking that book. Then I also started Rewitched on audio. I'm about 2 hours into the audio, so we're just barely getting introduced to the characters, getting introduced to the world, and trying to just get acquainted with everybody. Our main female character, Belle, she is a witch, and in this world, at age 15, you are gifted your magic, and then you have 15 years to learn how to use your magic and, you know, develop your magic and those things. Then at age 30, you have this test. Based off of how well you do on this test, determines if you get to keep your magic or not. So we're at that point right now in the book. Belle is 30 years old, it's her birthday, and she is on her way to do this test. And she has basically been living with mortals, living in the mortal world, using her magic in small ways day to day. So we're gonna find out if she gets to keep her magic or not. And I have a long drive ahead of me today, so I will be listening to quite a bit of that book. However, I will also be listening to Taylor Swift's new CD because I got that as well. And I've only listened to it like twice through, so I want to listen to it some more. But anyway, and then also I started reading Dracula. Okay, I have Dracula on my Kindle, and I also have the Audible edition of Dracula. And so as I'm reading my Kindle, it will play through and like automatically turn the page for me. It's really cool. So I've been doing that, and I'm about 100 pages in. In Dracula, we have been introduced to Jonathan Harker, and at least the first part of the book is in his point of view as he's writing in his diary. And he travels from England to Transylvania to Castle Dracula to meet with Dracula because Dracula is wanting to purchase an estate in England. And so Harker is the lawyer, the real estate agent, who is going to Transylvania to help with all the documents and such so that he can move to England and buy this estate. Jonathan Harker realizes as he's staying in the castle that things are weird there. Weird stuff is happening. He knows he's a prisoner and he's trying to escape. After a certain point, we switch to Mina's point of view and her diary entries, and she's in England and she's wondering where Jonathan is, that she's only received like one letter from him saying that he is leaving Transylvania and is on his way home, but how it was written did not seem like him at all. That it was his writing, but it did not seem like him. So she's really worried about him. But also we're going through her day-to-day life. We're also getting a point of view of Lucy, who is Mina's best friend, who lives in England. I don't know if they are in this, they are in the same house because Mina mentions that Lucy sleepwalks in their bedroom and that she had to lock the door so that she didn't like go wander elsewhere. And then Lucy is engaged to this man named Arthur, and Arthur is buddies with these other two guys who also proposed marriage to Lucy, and she turned them down because she's in love with Arthur. Well, one of these other guys, he is a doctor at an insane asylum, and he's actually in charge of Renfield. So Renfield is basically been diagnosed as a sociopath. And while Renfield was in his cell or his room at the insane asylum, he was collecting flies. Well, then he had too many flies, so the doctor had to tell him, you need to get rid of all these flies in your room. Well, then he started to collect spiders and feed the flies to the spider. Well, then they told him he had too many spiders, so then he started collecting birds from outside and started feeding the spiders to the birds. Well, then he asked the doctor if he could get him a cat because he wanted to feed the birds to the cat. And basically, if all of these flies, so you have all of these fly lives that are then fed to all these spiders, and then all these spiders with the fly lives and the spider lives are fed to the birds. And then if the birds are fed to the cats, you have all of these different built up lives. And then eventually the doctor was assuming that Renfield would eat the last animal in that progression. And then he would have all of these lives in his body. And so, total sociopath. But that's where we're at in the book. I'm about 100 pages in. It's actually reading really fast, so that's good. But I will check back in with another update, as I will be listening to quite a bit of Rewitched. We are back for a check-in. So I have finished Accomplice to the Villain, and I really enjoyed this book. It's the third in the series, and I believe, what was the last thing that I told you? Honestly, I don't remember the last thing I said in an update about this, but this is the third book in the series, so I don't want to give away too much. We continue to follow the villain, whose name is Tristan, and Evie and the other people who live in Massacre Manor on their little adventure to save Renadon. There are some certain magical things happening in Renadon, and they need to basically go on a scavenger hunt and collect different magical items in order to do these magical things to help heal or save Renadon. And what I really enjoyed about the book was that Kingsley the Frog plays a bigger role. And also in this book, you get multiple points of view. They're on a scavenger hunt for these different magical items. There are different like places that people's like points of view. So like they're out at the scavenger hunt, so you get their points of views from there. And then you get the people who are still at the manor and get their points of view. And these other people who are out here doing this other thing, you get their points of view. So you kind of hop back and forth when things are happening. So like you'll have a chapter or two of the people who are at the manor, and then you switch to the villain and Evie and whoever else are out searching for these magical items. And then you'll switch to these other people who are out doing this thing. And then you'll switch back to the manor, and then just kind of back and forth. So I enjoyed getting more people's points of view. I enjoyed Kingsley's point of view. I don't know if I didn't enjoy this book as much because I read it directly after reading the last book in the Flesh and Fire series, which was, you know, it's one of the best books that I've read this year. So, and it took me a long time to read this. I was distracted. Honestly, I watched all 3 seasons of The Summer I Turned Pretty. So I was also distracted by that. And there were some days where I just didn't want to pick it up. So I'm mostly thinking that it was a me thing, and that it didn't have really anything to do with the book, because, and it's hard for me to judge because while I was reading this, I sometimes felt like, well, like, why can't there ever be like a solution? It kind of felt like the book was being drug out way longer than it needed to be. Like anytime they would go to a place to find a magical item, they would encounter some sort of issue along the way. They would be captured, they would have a fight, they would somebody was following them, or they had another traitor amongst their midst. And then they finally got to that place where they would collect that magical thing, and then whoever they were collecting it from would say, oh, well, in order to use this thing that I just gave you, you have to have this thing. Or in order to use this thing that or in order for me to give you this magical thing, you have to do this for me. And then they would go to the next place to get the next thing. And along the way, they would encounter an issue, fighting or captured, or, their ship was attacked by pirates. Like, it was just a constant, like, anytime they tried to do something, something else came up. And then there were constant, like, traitors in their midst at the manor. Like, why do we keep having so many, like, infiltrators? And so it just kind of got to the point where it was just kind of exhausting, because all these little things kept just coming up, and there was never really a resolution. So I think that was kind of a little bit exhausting for me, especially since it took me quite a while to actually get through this book. So I think maybe half of it was me, maybe half of it was the book. I'm not really sure. But I did end up giving this book 3.75 stars. So I still enjoyed it overall. I think if you read the first two books and you really enjoyed them, that this is definitely worth the read. If you don't enjoy extreme slow burn romance, kind of cozy, there really aren't high stakes in this book. So if you don't enjoy those things, I don't think you'll enjoy this series. But I like this series. I will still read the next book, which I think will be the last in the series. So overall, I still enjoyed it. So then next, I will be picking up Dreadful, which kind of seems along the same vein as the Accomplice to the Villain series, or the Assistant to the Villain series. So hopefully I will also enjoy this book and it won't take me too long to read it. So starting Dreadful next. Then I also finished Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This was kind of a cozy fantasy, cozy witchy book. I don't remember the last update I gave for this one either, so I think I had barely gotten into it the last time I did an update for this one. So our main character, Belle, she is a witch, and she worked in a human normal bookstore, and her previous boss wanted to retire, and so she now let her son be in charge of running the bookstore. Well, he was a tyrant. He had terrible ideas. Like Belle and the other people who worked in the store, they would decorate for each holiday and make everything cozy, and they had all these cute, like, cozy ideas. And he came in and he wanted to get rid of all of that and wanted to stock, like, CEO autobiographies, like, right by the front door. Anyone who enjoys a cozy bookstore, those aren't the books that they're looking for. So they were dealing with that human side of things. But also Belle, because it was her 30th birthday, and in this world, when you're 15, you get your magic, and then when you're 30, the coven basically brings you in and tests you to make sure that you are using your magic wisely and that it's not going to waste and you're not using it for bad things. So they determine if you're going to keep or if they're going to take away your magic. Pretty early on in the book, this happens. And Belle is taken to Hecate House, where the coven resides, or where the head coven members reside, and they bring her there to test her. Well, the two sage witches who are in charge of the entire coven, one of them doesn't like Belle for an unknown reason, and as soon as Belle shows up, she just wants to take her magic away without even testing her. And the other sage witch is on Belle's side and wants to give Belle ample opportunity to be able to keep her magic. After these tests, the council has decided, well, really, she hasn't used her magic wisely, and so we want to take it away. Well, then some kind of like catastrophic thing happens, and the one sage witch who was on Belle's side says, okay, give me until tomorrow to try to find a loophole around taking her magic away. So she ends up finding a loophole written in the grimoire that says, since it's the month of October and the veil between the worlds is thin, she can have the entire month of October to train under a mentor to become better at using her magic. And at the end of the month, if she has learned all of these different tasks that the grimoire has set, then she passes and she gets to keep her magic. Then they have the task of finding her a mentor. Well, it can't be somebody that she's related to, and it can't be somebody who was on the council who already was present for her original test on her birthday, on her 30th birthday, because they might have a bias. So they have to find somebody who wasn't present for that. And there's seemingly only one person who is available to do that. And it turns out to be this man who, when he was younger, he was accused of murdering his older brother and was then exiled, and his magic was taken away. So he's apparently the only one available to be her mentor, even though he's been exiled by the coven. So Belle goes ahead and meets up with him and is very shocked by his demeanor and how he is. He is a very old, short, super sweet old man who bakes all day and just is the complete opposite of who she thought he was going to be. So they proceed with their training. Some odd things start to happen. Well, one of the coven members, his name is Rune, and he's a watchman. So he decides, since all of this weird stuff is happening to Belle, that he is going to watch out for her to protect her. So as all of these weird things are happening, Rune is there to protect her. Well, Rune is a very nice man. He has done nothing to be mean to Belle or say weird things to her or be inappropriate in any way. And she treats him so terribly. I didn't like the way that she spoke to him, because he had only ever been there to help her, was going out of his way to help her and protect her. And she just was a dick to him and constantly was speaking very meanly to him and saying that she didn't need his help and she didn't need his protection, and can he please leave her alone, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, just let him help you. It is not that big of a deal. You have got enough other crap going on in your life and weird things that are happening. Just let him help you. So those interactions kind of bothered me. But I enjoyed the story, and Belle kind of coming into herself and having more confidence in herself and developing her magic, and then kind of a mystery that happens towards the end because of all the weird things that had been happening. I wish that the romance in this book had been developed a little more. It was a very, very minor subplot, and I wish that at the end it had been developed a little bit more. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed Belle coming into her magic and learning how to do a bunch of different spells and all that, and it was really interesting, and I enjoyed the book. I did listen to it on audiobook, and it was very good. The narrator's English accent was a little bit hard for me to understand at some point, so I had to listen to it on a little bit slower of a speed than I normally do, but otherwise I really enjoyed the audiobook. So I ended up giving that book 3.75 stars as well. All right, so the next audiobook that I'm going to get into is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. And this is the second book in the Bride series. So this follows Cohen, who is the alpha of the Northwest Pack, and Serena, who is Misery's best friend slash sister, who we met both of these characters in the last book. So that will be the next audiobook that I'm starting. So let's go ahead and talk about Dracula. I am like 200 pages in, so that's 50% of the way through Dracula. I am liking it so far. What I am not really enjoying is that it is not written in a narrative style. It's written in letters and newspaper articles and journal entries and stuff like that. So it's not a clear and concise narrative from somebody's point of view. It's their journal entry, what they're writing down. It's fine, it's just kind of choppy. So I just don't enjoy the writing style of it. However, the story is mostly good. It's a little bit meandering, and some of the, because it's written in a way where it's somebody's journal entry or a newspaper article, there are sometimes a little bit more detail than you really need. So I'm finding that a little bit annoying, I guess you could say, but we're finally getting to the point where we've been introduced to Van Helsing, and he has started to have a major role in the story. Him and Dr. Seward, who is the doctor at the insane asylum, who is the doctor taking care of Renfield, the two of them are, well, Dr. Seward was a previous suitor of Lucy, and who is Mina's best friend. Lucy falls ill. Dr. Seward goes to check on her and realizes how ill she actually is. So he calls in his friend, who is a professor and a doctor, and that is Van Helsing. So Van Helsing travels from, I think it's Amsterdam, travels from Amsterdam to where they are, kind of in the London area. And they're both nursing Lucy back to health. And she constantly has ups and downs. She gets better and then she gets worse. She gets better and then she gets worse. And Dr. Van Helsing has these unusual ways of trying to combat this illness that she has. But he's not telling anyone why. Like, he makes her wear a necklace made of garlic flowers and leaves garlic flowers all over her room and around the windows, and rubs the garlic around the windows and around the fireplace and around the doors. But he doesn't explain why, which obviously you don't want to say, hey, there's a vampire who is drinking her blood, because people will freak out. But basically, one night, Lucy's mother walks into her room while Lucy is sleeping and sees that she has this necklace of flowers on, and it appears to be choking her. So she removes the necklace. And then the next day, when everybody wakes up to go check on her, she is weak again and has passed out and is doing way, way worse. Well, I wonder why. Because she friggin' went in her sleep, like she's been doing, got up, opened the window, and let Dracula in. And then we see newspaper articles of these strange events that are happening in the area, and how these children are going missing during the night, and then when they're found, either later in the night or the next morning, they have these weird animal bites on their neck, and they're weak and they don't feel good. We're seeing all of these things that are happening. Obviously, Van Helsing knows what's going on. And so Van Helsing is currently having a meeting with Mina, and they're starting to discover more of the things that are happening. Van Helsing is finding out about what happened to Jonathan as well. So we're slowly getting more into the story. It's just kind of meandering and taking a while to get to the point of the story. So I'm about halfway through it. Gonna continue to plug on, and I will check back in with you once I'm further in all of these books. Dreadful. Okay, so I am 176 pages into the book, which is chapter 9, and that's about 50% of the way through. And this book is fine. Like, it's literally just fine. So our main character, his name is Dread Lord Gavrix, and the first scene in the book is he wakes up, passed out on the floor, and he has no memories. So he can't remember anything. He doesn't remember who he is, doesn't remember where he is, why he lost his memories, absolutely nothing. Pretty quickly, he realizes that he is in charge of wherever he lives. He's the master. So he's trying not to let the other people in his castle know that he can't remember anything. The first person he meets is one of his goblin guards who's standing outside of his door, and he can't remember who he is, obviously. And then pretty quickly, we're also introduced to his manservant, whose name is Sirico, and he says that there's a princess locked in a tower. And obviously, Gav has no idea who this princess is, why she's there, anything. So slowly he's figuring out sort of some things about what's going on, but basically he realizes that he's been this really evil person and everybody is so frightened of him. He doesn't want to be that person anymore. So basically on like his second day of after losing his memories, he decides that he's going to be nice. He's not going to kill anyone, and he's going to try to be nice to everyone. Basically, he thinks of his old self before he lost his memories as like a totally different person. There are some other wizards, like dark wizards, that are involved in the story, and he can't remember exactly what their overall goal is, like why each of these wizards are collecting these things for the spell, but he can't remember why. And there's like this really, really bad dark wizard who is in charge of like this spell, who's collecting all of these things, and the other wizards that are involved are scared of him. So basically that's where we're at. Gav has kind of teamed up with the princess who he kidnapped to try to like overthrow this really dark wizard, sort of, but we're not quite there yet, and he still can't remember anything. I mean, halfway through, and it's honestly just fine. Like, I don't know. It reads really fast, and I'm not loving it, but I'm not hating it. So, you know, I guess we'll see how I feel for the last half of the book, but I don't know. I'm just not really, I'm not totally like engrossed in the story. So, but it, you know, I guess it sort of has spooky vibes, I guess. I don't know. And then I'm like 4.5 hours into the audiobook of Mate, and I'm really loving it. It's so good. It's so good. So we're introduced to Serena and Cohen, and we are getting two different timelines. We're getting the present timeline and then a timeline that's like 2 or 3 months ago. And we're finding out things slowly along the way. Serena, she's a hybrid. She's the first werewolf-human hybrid. So she has been kept a secret for her entire childhood. And she's finally come out to the public as the first hybrid. And basically, this helps solidify, or it helps relationships between the werewolves and the humans, so that there is less animosity because they're more alike than it would have previously been seen or was previously thought. So she's kind of she's the public face. She's done multiple interviews and been on live TV, and people know what she looks like. And so now there's a bounty out on her head. The vampires have put a bounty on her head. So vampires are after her, even though they're all supposed to be getting along. So that's kind of where we're at in the story. And we find out within like the first, I don't know, chapter or two, that Cohen is Serena's mate, but they don't feel romantically attracted to each other, and Cohen has no intention of ever pursuing this. He said that the part of him that matters doesn't care about her. So that's kind of how she has been going along with the whole thing, as in he doesn't want her, but she's his mate, so he kind of feels obligated to protect her, but nothing is ever going to happen between them. There's also something else that's going on with Serena that we're slowly introduced to, and she's hiding it from everybody. The reason for she doesn't want anybody to know and worry about her, but because of this thing that's happening to her, she basically wants to isolate herself. Cohen at the same time is trying to protect her from the vampire. So it doesn't really bode well that she wants to isolate herself, yet is basically being hunted. So Cohen is protecting her. There's a lot of banter and a lot of like arguing between them, and it's really cute. So I'm really liking the story so far. Not very far into it, but liking it. I don't really have an update for Dracula. I read some of it yesterday. So in Dracula, Van Helsing has started to kind of tell people that vampires are real, but in a very roundabout way. That, yeah, I understand, like, he's trying not to freak people out and he wants them to believe him. So he's trying to show them and give them evidence. Like, here's this evidence. What do you think of it? Why do you think this is the way that it is? Why do you think this person has these 2 puncture wounds in their neck? Why do you think this person who was dead and buried is no longer in their coffin and during the night, and then is in their coffin during the day? It's hard. It's a hard sell, which makes sense. I mean, if you've never even fathomed there being vampires in the world, and suddenly this man is trying to tell you that they're real, it would be a hard pill to swallow. So he's trying to not freak people out and show them the evidence so that they can better understand. But it's not going well so far. But that's really all that's happened in what I read yesterday. So not a whole lot. But I will check back in once I'm finished with Dreadful, and I hope that will be today. I hope I can finish that today, because honestly, I'm ready to be done with the book. I'm ready to be done with it. And I've got like 150, nope, 60, 70, like 170 pages left. So that's kind of a lot, but hopefully I can get through it today. New day, another update. So, I did in fact finish Dreadful, and I did not love it. The last time I checked in, I was halfway through, and the book didn't get any better from there. Honestly, I kind of wished that I had DNF'd it, but I was able to get the audiobook from the library, and then I finished the book while I was scrapbooking for a few hours on Saturday, and finished the book, and it was fine. It was fine. Pretty much what you expected happened. That Gav realized that he wanted to be good and he didn't want to be bad and kill people anymore. The big climax was this spell that the Dark Wizards had all collected different pieces for, and trying to thwart that effort. And so it's just pretty mundane. It was meant to be like silly goofy, and it really wasn't. I just didn't love it. So I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars, and don't really want to waste more time talking about it because I didn't love it. Now, a book that I am loving a lot is Mate. I am, honestly, I don't know. Let me get my phone. Does it not tell me a percentage? I have 4.5 hours left in the audiobook for Mate, and I am absolutely loving it. It's so good, so good. I love Serena and Cohen so much, and their banter is adorable. Every time they're together, every time, back and forth, it's so great. And the relationship is starting to develop more. There are obvious complications with that, and something big just happened. Like, Something significant just happened. And Cohen is gonna flip his shit. But I am loving it so far. I think it's better than Bride. I am enjoying it. I really liked Bride, but I'm enjoying Mate so much more. Like, it is so freaking good. I love it. So I have just under 5 hours left on the audiobook. I don't know what percentage, because the app that I'm using to listen to it on, audiobooks.com, it doesn't give me a percentage. So I don't know, 70%, 75% of the way through, something like that. Anyway, really, really loving it, and I can't wait to see how it ends. And I haven't read much more in Dracula, so I really don't have an update for you there, but I will check back in once I am all finished. Final update for this Halloween reading vlog. So I have finished both Dracula and Mate. So let's start off with Dracula. Dracula, Bram Stoker, classic. One of the starts to vampire lore, and so many stories and movies and TV shows, etc., have been based off of this book. I liked this book, except that it was real wordy. They wrote a lot of words, but didn't say a lot of things. So I just found that page after page could have been condensed into something shorter. So it got long-winded. And normally I enjoy reading books that are journal entries, diary entries. Like, when I was growing up, I read all of the Dear America books. Those were some of my favorites. But I got bored at some points during this story. And the ending, as slow moving as the whole entire story was, the ending was kind of abrupt. It was lackluster. It was fine. I mean, the book was fine. And for a classic, and now understanding where a lot of the lore comes from, I'm glad that I read the book. I am glad that I read it. And I enjoyed it enough. Now, will I read it again? No, I won't. But at least I've read it and I know about the story and understand it better. I ended up giving Dracula 3.5 stars. So, still not bad. Still a pretty good rating in my book. Now, let's talk about Mate. Because y'all, I loved this book. It was so good. It was so, so good. I liked Bride, but I really, really liked Mate. This book, definite must read. Definite must read. It was so, so, so good. So good. Highly recommend. For the rest of the book, we follow Serena and Cohen on their mission to stop these vampire vigilantes. And then we're introduced to another factor of a werewolf group cult. And some things happen and stuff goes down and Cohen saves the day. And y'all, when I tell you that I love Cohen, I loved him so much in this book. He took such good care of Serena throughout the entire book. He's one of those, like, touch her and die. I act like I'm not nice, but I really am, and treats her really well. Would do anything for her, and did do. Like, he put himself through so much. He put himself through so much pain and so much nonsense just to make her happy. And it was so, I just loved him so much. Like, he is such a good character. I loved this book so much. Like, I would read it again. I love this book so, so much. And honestly, it made me want to read Bride again, just so that I could read Mate another time. Highly enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. I really enjoyed the audiobook as well. It was a good one. I gave Mate 4.75 stars. So almost a 5-star. It was real, real, real close. So good. Highly recommend. Okay, so that is the end of this Halloween reading vlog. I hoped you enjoyed it. I know it's a longer video, but I read 5 books over the course of a couple weeks in October. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the spinner wheel TBR video next week. Bye.